Extraordinaire, Mr. Lupe Fiasco. Look at Mr. Look at this phone.
What? It's a Kenzo. That's expensive. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Are the lion dancers gonna dance? Are they gonna do a dance?
They are. They're after us, right?
They're after us? They gonna dance? Okay.
Yeah. He wants to see that piece.
I used to lion dance when I was a little kid. Hey, Quakers, how y'all doing? You sit down there, should we?
You can lion dance for me, boo boo. Hey.
Lupe, thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you, Doctor.
Give it up for this, bro. Look. Listen, he's on. He just starting a tour. He's extremely busy. He got a 7 o'clock show tonight. He took time out of his really busy schedule to be here with you guys. So I just want to appreciate you, brother. We're real happy.
Thank you.
To have you here.
Thank you. And thank you, Seattle, and all of the fans here who showed me support over the years. The show tonight is actually sold out, so I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Lupe, so all these festivities are around MLK and thinking about how Dr. King influenced people. I wonder if you could share with young folks some of the thinkers or artists or people that have influenced you in your life.
Oh man, there's a long list and there's a short list, and it fortunately it gets to grow every year exponentially. One of the premier thinkers in my life that I follow is actually James Baldwin.
Y'all heard of James Baldwin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually put him above King, even though that might be controversial. But yeah, James Baldwin, definitely Martin Luther King. Julian Assange actually is very interesting.
Julian Assange is the founder of
WikiLeaks, yeah.
WikiLeaks.
Nietzsche.
We got some Nietzsche fans.
There's some Nietzscheites over there. Aphorisms of love and hate, things of that nature. It's a long list, it's a lot of unknown people, you know, just observing people in that element. My next door neighbor is one of my favorite men in the entire world. You know, just through action, he's an incredible spirit. He like gives the mailman water because it's hot outside, and it's just like, oh, that's so beautiful, you know. So some people in philosophy, some people in action that are unknown, and you know, just different, you know, the thinkers of the day, so to speak.
If you could talk to your high school self and give that person a little bit of advice about life, what would you say to high school Lupe about life?
Oh man, the board game life, the actual life itself. I don't know, I'm such a bad example, and when I go back and I speak at my high school in Chicago, they tell me not to mention anything post high school and record deal, because I didn't go to college, and I decided not to go to college in high school, and I decided to go be a rapper. You know, and I didn't take SATs, I didn't take my ACTs, I didn't take ACT prep classes, I didn't take anything. I was like, no, I'm gonna be a rapper or I'm going to be a mailman. Which would mean that my next door neighbor would give me water if I had became a mailman when it was hot outside, so I would still kind of got back to that same point. But I fell in love with the arts, you know, and that became my joy, and luckily I had teachers who were supportive of that. And you know, I did, you know, when we ever did talent shows, and you know, the school kind of aligned itself to my strengths and pushed it. Certain teachers, maybe not the entirety of the school, but certain teachers aligned themselves with my strengths and what I wanted out of life and pushed me towards that. And I actually became successful at it. I got a record deal while I was actually kind of still in high school. And you know, the rest is kind of like a history. But I would tell myself to start taking college now. I found that the things that I'm learning now and doing college prep classes and maybe thinking about going back to school
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm thinking about going. I'm taking a bunch of college courses right now from like Yale and Oxford and stuff like that. But thinking about going back. But I would say they're just online classes. They don't mean anything. Like it's cheating. But I would say start the rigorous analysis and trying to apprehend the physics and the mechanics of the world philosophically, scientifically, personally, effectively, cognitively, right now. I would say do that now. You know, because what you're learning now at a high school level is kind of watered down to a certain degree. But the real jewels of life, the real, meat of learning and attaining knowledge is those difficult subjects, those difficult writers, those difficult authors, those difficult tomes of work. I would say do that now. Don't just be happy with 1984 or what your English teacher gives you or whatever like that. Like,
I love
challenge yourself
1984.
to
I love
read very
that now.
difficult things. To read Kant. Like, you should be reading Kant now. You should be reading Schopenhauer now. You should be reading Shakespeare now. You should be doing that stuff now. You shouldn't wait until you get to college.
We don't have a whole lot more time, so I wonder if you could, and this is probably a question that you could spend the next hour on, but I wonder if you could give us a sense of like how you see the music industry now. You've been in it for a while, you've had an incredible set of experiences, you've had a lot more longevity than a lot of other artists. When you see the music industry now, what's your assessment of it?
It's recursive, as are all industries, all markets. They all run in a cycle, and you're just witnessing a cycle. You're witnessing a creative cycle. And if you were unfortunately, and it is unfortunate, if you weren't able to experience hip hop in the '90s, specifically '95, '96, '97, which was kind of a golden era, then what you think is happening now is brand new. And so for a lot of us who kind of went through hip hop in that kind of golden era, I don't really see, oh, that's brand new. I see I remember they did that back in such and such, and I did that back in such and I did that back in such and such. And unfortunately, you're called a hater when you do that. But I'll take my lumps. But it's in its cyclical state. It's going back through the '90s. So you get a lot of rappers who are very lyrical. Also very kind of conscious to a certain degree, but for me it's nothing new. It's like I've been through that. I saw that, but I don't want to dull it out, be a jerk about it. But it's recursive, and it's achieving. Hopefully, it's achieving a certain level of power that we constantly let other people take from us. So hopefully we're taking advantage of, not only as artists but as fans. The power and a lot of the concepts and music and songs that are coming out in this era from people like Kendrick and J. Cole, and a whole slew of other folks. But just the message and the meaning behind the message is power. And if we allow that to become powerful, then it will be. But if we just take it as entertainment and that's it, and we don't really act on it, then we'll go back to it. It'll just come back in another 20 years.
A lot of people know you as a recording artist, but you also have a lot of interest in visual arts. I remember you telling me a story about a piece of artwork that inspires you as an artist very, very early on. You did the cover art for your most recent album. Can you talk a little bit about how you're moving in the visual arts space for all the painters and people who want to think about painting and visual arts?
Well, first, do paint because you love it. Fortunately, I was able to sell some pieces. I started painting maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Gave myself 10 years to get good, and then at the 10-year mark, if I was just making trash, I'm gonna stop. But do it because you love it. That's a lesson I learned from it. Do it because you actually love it, and that you actually have something to say in your painting. That you're actually trying to communicate or express something. Don't do it just because I just want to I draw real good, so I'm gonna just, don't do it for the ego. Do it more for, some social. For my greatest heroes in painting, Mark Rothko and Gerhard Richter and different folks. It was a mission statement behind why they were painting that was bigger than the painting themselves, also bigger than the market that they were trying to infiltrate. So, paint because you love it. Yes.
The tour you're on, I'm going to take you out on this though. The tour that you're on right now is for the fans. Can you give us like a little preview of how the tour came about? What the tour, like what if, I don't know if anybody in here has tickets to tonight's show. Sorry, it's sold out. But if, give us a little bit of primer about what this tour is about. And, I want to know what the playlist is for tonight, really.
I have a big body of work. My last album was actually my last album in the record business, officially.
Yeah, there's been some confusion about that amongst your fans on social media because they're thinking like, oh, this is his last album, but this is your last album with.
There's my last album with Atlantic,
okay, with
which
Atlantic.
is done. But this year will be my last album. I will be retiring from albums.
What?
Yeah, I will be done.
Wait. Hold on. So you're doing your last album with the deal with Atlantic.
So that's done. Tetsuo on Youth was my last album with a label. And then this year I'm going to do 3 albums, and the 3rd album will be my last album.
Wow. And like
getting old, man. Plus I got to go back to school, and if I can't be rapping and going to school at the same time, it's like,
so it's to do other things. You're retiring from rap to do.
Not rap, from making albums.
Making albums. So we still might hear you making.
Yeah, you'll still get music and things of that nature, but in an album and everything that is, I can't do that no more, and do the other things that I want to do before I turn 40. You know. So.
Okay. Wow, that's so sad to me. It is.
What are you talking about?
It is. But but just so we can wrap up here, what's the tour about? What's the?
Oh, well, it's the tour for the fans. I have a large body of work, and we just wanted to kind of, every year, we were kind of on the average of putting out an album every year. So we're just touring with the album. It's gonna be. I have so many songs that I could really do 3 nights in Seattle, but we don't have.
How many? But you're just doing the one tonight.
We're gonna mix it up. You'll see. We're gonna do something special.
Okay. Yeah. All right, man. Listen, man. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for spending time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Give it up for Lupe Fiasco.
Thank you.
Let's give one more hand for Lupe Fiasco and Dr. Peterson.